Hi, my name is Alicia Falcorton, and welcome to Alicia's Ample Kitchen, where I like to take recipes and make them gluten-free. So today we're going to be making green bean casserole. I love this dish for the holidays, but it's hard to find those crispy onions to go on the top. They do make a gluten-free version, but they're not always easy to find. So today we're going to do a little twist to it, and it's just as tasty, if not better, okay? So first we're going to start with, I just have some frozen green beans. I heated them up for about half the allotted time. You can use fresh, you can use canned. Be careful with the frozen ones if they've added anything. Sometimes they'll add sauces or butters, additives that might not be gluten-free, but this is just plain Jane frozen green beans. So I'm going to pop them into my enameled cast iron dish over here, like so. I'll just take this and spread them down on the bottom here. All right, so green beans are ready. Now we need to make our topping for it. So this is the brand I am loving lately. It is True Goodness from Meijer. So if you're a Midwest girl like me, you can find some at Meijer. But they do also have other brands of gluten-free cream and mushroom soup as well. So I'm going to pop this into my classic batter bowl. There is ways to make green bean casserole without needing the soup as well. But once I found this yummy gluten-free version, I was hooked, ready to go. Okay, now we're going to add a half a cup of milk. Then we're going to use a half of a teaspoon of Worcestershire, however you say it. Just make sure that this is also gluten-free. This brand is, okay? So half a teaspoon of that. Couple extra drizzles go in. It's not going to hurt anything, right? Right. Then we're going to add some salt and pepper, just a bit, about 1/4 of a teaspoon. I just do a few little twists and that works for me. And then this is also a part where you could add some finely diced onions. But since I'm making the topping with real onions and not the fried, I don't want to add any more onion to it. So I'm just going to keep it like this. So I'm going to take my little sauce whisk here and whisk this all around, making sure it's nice and combined. I love this handy little sauce whisk. This is perfect for making sauces and gravies right on the stove top as well, because the bottom is actually coated with a silicone, so it won't hit or hurt your non-stick cookware. So there we go. So this is ready to go now. I'm going to pop this down over here, and I'm going to pour this right over top. Let me move my pan over so you can see what's going on a little bit better. I kind of had to do a different setup today whenever I used my stove and oven. All right, so I'm going to pour this right over top. Perfect. I'm going to grab my mini spatula scraper back out to get all that goodie out of the classic batter bowl. There we go. Just kind of make sure it's nice and evenly coated. Now, I'm going to pop this into my oven. We're going to cook it for a total of 20 to 25 minutes, but I'm actually going to take it out the last couple of minutes, add the fried onions, and then put it back in to finish it off. So let me pop this down into my preheated oven. It is at 350 degrees. Like I said, about 20-25 minutes, all right? Now, let's make that topping. So first I'm going to just take one of my little pans. Now, if you're making a bigger dish than what I have, you can definitely use a bigger pan for this. I'm going to pour a little bit of olive oil into the bottom. Well, maybe more like a little lot-ish. Try to get that crispy onion flavor, okay? And we're going to let this heat up just for a quick second. So, as always, if you put recipe down in the comments, I will make sure to get that to you after the live is over. And if you want to see the total final recipe when it's done baking and cooking, head on over to the VIP group where I'll be doing a little tips and tricks video afterwards. And I give a discount code for those who follow me over there. So make sure you head on over to the VIP group and check that video for that coupon code, okay? All right, so soon this should be ready. It doesn't take very long for this little skillet to heat up, and then we're gonna add some of our onions. Now, I just cut the onions real thin, and I cut them in a half. So they're like this. You could use shallots. That's another great option. If you use some shallots, they're smaller. You can keep them kind of in those round circular form. But I had onions, so we're using onion. I don't, why not use what we already have? All right, so I'm going to take my handy little tongs here. Open, close, right? So good. And I'm going to start putting some of the onions inside of my hot oil. Listen to that sizzle. Break them up a little bit while I'm putting them in. Now, there is some recipes that you can actually add some gluten-free flour to this mix too, to kind of give it that coating. But I actually prefer just frying up the onions by themselves. I don't really need that kind of breaded friedness. I like it just like this. But you could add some flour and make it more like your traditional. All right, so we're going to fry those up. I think that's going to be enough. I'm going to save the rest of this onion for later. We're always using onions, so it's not going to go to waste, right? So what are you most excited for Thanksgiving? I can't believe it's already next week. That is crazy to me. Oh, I love cooking it. It's kind of like my holiday. Like, this is my Super Bowl because I love to cook and I love to wow my family with gluten-free meals. That's kind of what got me started into this whole thing, because I wanted to be able to eat my favorite holidays food, which is Thanksgiving, and not have to stress out about it. So I took over hosting and started making all the food on my own. So that's one way to make sure that you're safe, right? And then if there is some years that I do go to other places, I always cook a little bit of my own food and bring it with me, because I don't want to bother that host to have to worry about all my allergies and dietary restrictions and all of that. So I usually just bring some food and go enjoy the company if I'm going somewhere else for Thanksgiving. But it's been a really, really long time since I've done that. Because like I said, this is Alicia's Super Bowl right here. I absolutely love, love, love to cook Thanksgiving. And I know most of you might be saying, how does your family deal? Because I'm actually the only gluten-free person in my whole family. And the first year or so, they knew I was cooking it gluten-free, and they're like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to like this or not. But it was totally all in their head. And maybe I've gotten a little better over the years. But now they love it. You can't even tell the difference. Most of them even say, oh my gosh, this tastes normal. So it just takes a little bit of practice and knowing what ingredients to use, which is why I'm here and why you should hit that like and follow button so you can learn how to be more confident in your gluten-free kitchen too. All right? All right, so we're going to fry these up for a few minutes longer. Now, you can get these as done as you want, right? That's totally up to you, your preference. I'm going to want them pretty darn crispy, so it's going to take a few minutes to get to that level. But that's literally it. That's all that you do. Super simple, right? I love keeping it simple for you guys. So I'm going to let these cook a little bit longer while I have my green bean casserole in the oven. And then I'm going to put it all together and have a few more tips for you on the live, okay? Now, I have learned that I needed more onion, but otherwise it's looking really, really good. So this is a very common one that people won't do if they have gluten problems, because there's the fried onions on the top and the cream of mushroom soup has gluten in it. But I found a gluten-free soup, and I found a topping that was just fried onions that I could make on my own without all the yucky gluten in it. But anyway, let me know if you're a green bean casserole fan, if you like to make it, if you like to eat it, how you like it. But we're going to talk about a couple of things you can do if you, whether it's gluten-free or not, have some issues with it and you need to fix it, okay? So first one, let's say that the sauce is super, super watery. You don't want that in a green bean casserole. You want it to be nice and thick. So you could make a cornstarch or flour slurry, add it to it, and then that's going to help thicken it up some, okay? So that is tip number one. The next one is I like to add, whether it's the fried onions or these onions, the breaded, whatever, add them towards the last 5 or 10 minutes of the cooking time, not the whole entire time, because then what's going to happen is they're going to absorb some of that liquid and they're going to be kind of mushy, and you don't want that. You want them to be nice and crispy on the top. So add them towards the end. And then the last little tip I have for you before we get to our secret code word is you actually want to rinse your green beans if you're using a can. So you could use frozen, you could use fresh, you could use canned green beans. It doesn't really matter. But I prefer that if I am using canned green beans, I'm going to actually rinse them with some water, okay? Just to get some of that additives and extra salt and all that stuff off of there before I cook it up. All right, so those are my tips for you for green bean casserole. And today's secret code word is onion. So if you message me onion, you get 25% off your order all the way until tomorrow at 8 p.m. Okay, so thanks so much for being a VIP. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you over in the group.